Welcome to a Word for Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you today from Bethel Revival Center in Everett, Mass, on the north end of Boston. Pastor Orville Plummer has invited us here for revival. I'm recording this Tuesday evening, and you'll see it tomorrow on our regular Word for Wednesday time slot. I'm going to read to you and exhort a little bit from a little essay in Charles W. Conn's book, The Rudder and the Rock. This is an excellent little book if you can find it. All short little 2, 3 page, 4 page essay sermons that are every one excellent. I want to talk to you from this book on page 30, When Life Seems Backward. It sure does seem like that a lot of times, doesn't it? Things are not as straightforward as it seems like they should be. We expect to be blessed and highly favored, and it looks like we're being cursed and pushed aside. But that's often backward. We don't always see things like they really, really are. We may not even see it till we get to the destination. God has been with us every step of the way. Let's read a little bit. Charles Conn says, if you were to cast your boat afloat in the headwaters, the beginning of the Missouri River, far in the mountains of Montana, and flow with the streams to its end, you would eventually flow into the Gulf of Mexico, and that is true. But there would be many times when you would seriously doubt that the river would take you so far south or so far east. For sometimes you would be headed north or east or west. As you drifted towards Canada to the north, you would despair of ever reaching the Gulf of Mexico. When you flowed mile after mile straight west, you might reasonably doubt the accuracy of the one who told you the river would lead you to the Gulf of Mexico. As you turned into the rising sun in the east to follow the river across the state of Missouri, you would feel sure after hundreds of eastern miles that you would never reach your destination in the south. Your doubts would increase as you turned farther away to follow the northeastern sweep of the river. Then quite suddenly, you would flow into the conflux of the Missouri and the mighty Mississippi and turn abruptly southward. From then on, you would know certainly that you were headed for the Gulf and you would eventually reach your goal. All the time, you were headed south, even when for the moment you were going north or east or west. They were only, listen to this now, they were only necessary turns you had to accept if you wanted to reach your goal. Charles Conn said, I once lived on the Missouri River at a place where it flowed directly westward. If I did not know better and never saw more of the river than that one stretch, it would be difficult to convince me that it actually led to the south. By seeing only one short stretch of the river, I would have made the false conclusion that it led to the Pacific Ocean. It is only by following the stream, either actually by tracing its course on a map or by sailing it, that you can believe it leads to the Gulf. This helps to understand somewhat the course of the Christian life. How can we accurately judge the outcome of it if we do not follow it to its end? By looking at only one portion of it, we may decide that it is too hard, that it is too difficult. We need to see sometimes those reverses are necessary and disappointments are necessary for us if we are to ever reach our goal. Well, that's a great point. We come into a situation in life and we look at it, that one section, it looks totally the wrong direction, totally unnecessary for our journey. But all we can see is that one stretch of backward flowing river in front of us. Oh God, give us a broader view of the Christian life. Often the grace of God, Mr. Conn says, seemingly will lead you exactly opposite of your desired goal. God's love for you will often cause him to answer your prayer, listen to this, contrary to the way you desire. I said in church here last night, it's really easy for me to praise God when he says yes to my prayer. But it's necessary for me to praise God when he says no or not now to my prayer. His love will often cause him to answer contrary to the way we desire. The result may be that you will despair and fret and worry because everything's going wrong in your life. But do not do it. Life will not be all wrong. And it may not be all right, but it will be all right. How glorious it will be when we come to the end of the triumphant life and realize that the adverse turns and discouraging circumstances we hated so much along the way were only a part of the divine channel that led to our goal. To avoid these seemingly backward turns is to miss the goal in life. To follow them is ultimately to reach our victor's crown. How abased we will be at the end of life if we abandon our Christian course in some period of disappointment, only to find that what discouraged us was only a delay or reversal necessary to lead us to our heavenly goal. What a disappointment to quit and get to the end and realize that obstacle that caused us to quit was in actuality a blessing from the Lord. Above all, he says, we must remember Paul's assurance that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. To become discouraged by a few contrary circumstances, or I might say by many contrary circumstances, or a period when things do not go exactly the way you want. In fact, they go opposite of the way we want. It's as erroneous for a person to refuse to believe that the Missouri River is headed for the Gulf of Mexico, even when it flows north toward Canada or west toward the Rocky Mountains in California, or even east toward the Atlantic. When we get to heaven, listen now, when we get to heaven, we will see that we were on the way all the time. And it was the will of God. Now, I want to speak personally to you here just a moment. That is an experience that I am probably more familiar with right now than I care to admit. I have not enjoyed the reversals. I have not always enjoyed the downward slopes when I wanted to go up, or the upward climb when I wanted to coast downhill. I have not enjoyed going a different direction than I intended. But I do not want to miss one moment of the journey. The joy is not only in the destination, but it's in the trip. An older preacher from our youth used to sing a song, I'm not only going to make it, but I'm going to enjoy the trip. My mind's made up. There's no turning back. This is it. With Jesus carrying my load, he's been there. He knows the road. I'm not only going to make it, but I'm going to enjoy the trip. When life seems backward, hang on, friend. Hang on. You got your hand in God's hand. You are going to make our desired destination. And that's our word for Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Come back and see us again real soon.